The Rambling Geordie.
Jess Phillips is back in the news, and once again it's because she's been called out for being a spineless cretin. Jess Phillips, or the Gob on a Stick, who was Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, Jesus, that's a ridiculously long title, until she quit in May of 2026, has admitted that when she was due to be questioned about Peter Mandelson while still in Cabinet, she pretended to be ill, rather than have to face up to answering questions about him. Now, everyone's thrown a sickie at one point or another in their working life, but when you're the Safeguarding Minister, I'm not saying that full title again, and when you've spent your whole adult life declaring yourself as the champion of protecting women and girls from harm, you'd think when you have the chance to speak out against a friend of the world's most notorious pedo and sex trafficker, well, you'd take the chance, wouldn't you? You know, sticking to the patriarchy and the rich and powerful men who prey on vulnerable women and young girls. I mean, it's in a parliamentary title, for fuck's sake. But you see, Jess Phillips isn't what she wants you to believe she is. She might come across as a loud-mouthed, foul-mouthed, goes against the grain politician who doesn't care what people think of her, doesn't mind being uncouth and not becoming of an MP, because she will fight to the bitter end for her constituents and women and girls up and down the country, and by God, she doesn't care if she has to ruffle some feathers to do it. That's the Jess Phillips she wants you to think she is, when in fact she's completely the opposite. Jess was at the Edinburgh Fringe and was talking to Ian Dale and admitted the following. Mandelson hadn't yet been sacked, but we were in that sort of indeterminate week where the Prime Minister was giving him his full confidence. That week it was Home Office questions, and I didn't go. Because I said if anybody asks me a question about whether Mandelson was good at his job, I would say no. So I said I was sick. Luckily, I then did fall ill. I think if I lie about being sick, I get sick. So instead of speaking her mind, instead of speaking up for the thousands of voiceless victims of Epstein's mates, she decides to pretend she's ill, which means she won't be rocking any boats with the party and then Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Like a fucking self-serving coward. Now don't worry, this isn't just a one-off blip, by the way. Phillips has done this kind of thing many times before. In October 2024, while Safeguarding Minister, Phillips rejected Oldham Council's request for an independent public inquiry into historic child sexual exploitation by grooming gangs in the area, preferring instead to run a locally run process. To say this was heavily criticised is a bit of an understatement. Elon Musk even chipped in, saying that Phillips's decision was disgraceful and that she deserves to be in prison, going as far as labelling her a rape genocide apologist. Of course, she managed to distract from her decision by calling these attacks by Musk as misinformation and smears that endangered her. She didn't once explain, by the way, how it was misinformation, but hey-ho, shocking, eh? Then, when a national inquiry was established, several survivors resigned from the Victims and Survivors Liaison panel, citing a toxic process, concerns that the scope was widening beyond group-based grooming gangs to dilute the presence of race and religion of the gangs, conflicts of interest in potential chairs, and even restrictions on what the survivors could actually say. Some even accused Phillips of lying or dismissing their concerns when she told the Commons that claims of intentional delay, lack of interest, or dilution of the inquiry's scope were false, and that it would remain laser-focused on grooming gangs. Right. Being called out for trying to erase the ethnic or religious backgrounds of the grooming gang members really got to Jess Phillips, and it's quite understandable why. Not because it's true, but because her constituency is made up of 41% of Asians and 26% Pakistanis. Now, we can't seem to be upsetting the locals now, can we? I think it's about time we put to bed this idea that Jess Phillips is any kind of a hero or champion of the people who will fight to the death for her causes. She's an absolute fraud and a coward. She's all mouth and no backbone, who will sell out even the very people she swore to protect, just to keep her in a parliamentary seat, along with the pay and the privilege that goes along with it. She doesn't belong anywhere near politics, and she should be barred from ever being anywhere near a safeguarding post again in her life. I'll bet you she was always that fat mate who shoved herself between a good-looking friend and any bloke who tried his luck, screeching, "She's not interested," while the friend was silently thinking, "For fuck's sake, Jess, just fuck off and let me enjoy myself." Same energy now, Jess. For fuck's sake, Jess, just fuck off and let the rest of us enjoy ourselves. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I thank you all for watching, and cheers.
Don't be daft, man.